Just give me like a 5-4-3. Just kidding, I'm already recording.
3, 2, oh.
Hi everybody, welcome back.
Welcome back. We're gonna talk about some more football because football. Yay!
This is what we do. Remember how we started the podcast based on football?
Yeah.
We need to talk about more football.
We're gonna talk about football.
The NFL trade deadline.
We're in a good space today, guys.
Truly. The NFL trade deadline is a week from... The NFL trade deadline is on October 29th.
That's Tuesday.
That's right. So this is the one opportunity that we have to talk about it because we're going to miss it next week.
Yeah.
So we're going to go around and we're going to talk about some trades that have already happened, some teams that might need to be buyers, teams that need to sell, teams that need to make moves. Because the trade deadline is one of the most fun things to happen in all of sports. It's fun. The Patriots actually made a trade today as we recorded this podcast.
Yeah, they did.
Believe it or not. They traded for Mohamed Sanu from the Atlanta Falcons.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a great...
Senior.
Sorry?
Mohamed Sanu Sr.
The Patriots traded for Mohamed Sanu Sr.
We need to be specific.
I didn't know that there was a junior.
There is, but he is not in the NFL because Mohamed Sanu is, 30 years old?
Okay.
He took senior. It's on the back of his jersey. I'm just ragging on you because we must show respect to those such as Gardner Minshew II in using their full names.
And Will Fuller V. I apologize.
Okay.
The Patriots traded for Mohamed Sanu Sr. from the Atlanta Falcons in exchange for a second-round pick. I think this is an excellent pickup for the Patriots.
Okay, please tell me why.
I really do. Sanu is someone that I have been watching for fantasy for a little while. Because you've got, in Atlanta, you've got that trio of receivers. You've got Julio Jones, you have Calvin Ridley, and you have Sanu. And I feel like whenever I go all in on Ridley or on Jones, Ryan will always throw the ball to Mohamed Sanu. Sanu is a very underrated wide receiver, but he's a very good one. He was number 2. He's a number 2 wide receiver when he played in Cincinnati behind A.J. Green. He also did a great job in the Super Bowl against the Patriots a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I think this is a really, really good pickup for the Patriots. And he's going to be a good complement to Julian Edelman and Josh Gordon. And he's also going to be a great fill-in because they honestly don't have anybody else right now.
Look, I don't disagree that for the sake of this season, not that your season is any way in danger as a Patriots fan. I think this is a good move. I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around the fact that they gave up a second-round draft pick for him.
Yeah, they've got draft picks to burn.
I understand.
Really?
Mohamed Sanu is not a young guy. He's not one of those guys who's just stuck on a team. I think the Falcons can do a lot with a second-round pick next year in the draft. I don't know how long the Patriots are going to be able to really use Sanu to the best of his abilities.
So, according to an article from the Boston Globe, the Patriots have actually been trying to get Sanu since before the draft last year.
Oh.
They actually offered the second-round pick to the Falcons before the draft. And I think because the Falcons suck right now, and they're just going to have a straight-up fire sale, that they needed to drop some pieces. So, the Falcons turned them down, actually, before the draft. So, I think it's the right move. Truly. And Sanu actually tweeted, "Let's fucking go," on Twitter. So he's obviously excited to get out of Atlanta and start catching passes from Tom Brady. I don't think that the Patriots are necessarily done. I still think that they could go out and get a tight end or something, but I think this is a step in the right direction for where the team needs to go.
Sure. And I think that, you've got James White and Sony Michel, great running backs who can catch balls that are thrown their way.
Maybe not Sony Michel, because he dropped a sure screen pass on third down last night. Neither here nor there. Please continue.
But from there, you've got Josh Gordon, you've got Jacoby Myers, you've got...
N'Keal Harry's coming back from injured reserve.
Right, Julian Edelman. Yeah, and let's... N'Keal Harry is going to be great. So I don't know... I mean, obviously we haven't seen him play NFL football yet, but he is said to be great. And so I'm just wondering... now they have some options, so I'm excited to see what they do with them. But I feel like they could have gone and picked up a really solid tight end or something instead.
Well, I mean, they've been overloaded at wide receiver before, and by overloaded I don't mean with talent, I just mean with numbers. but that hasn't stopped them before from going out and getting more people for Brady to throw to.
Sure.
I think that's the main thing right now, is getting the offense on the same level as the defense. This whole thing was totally fucked over by Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
Because when they signed Antonio Brown, they let Demaryius Thomas go. They let Braxton Berrios go. And so, now Brown is gone, Gordon is hurt, and so all they've got are, Philip Dorsett and Julian Edelman to throw to.
Right.
And both their tight ends, aside from Benjamin Watson, who looked like trash last night, are on the bench or on the injured list. Mm-hmm. So they need to go out and get more pieces for Brady to throw to.
Yeah, and Sanu is definitely a start towards that. I'm just not sure if it's the perfect match, and it's really great that they finally got the guy that apparently they've been going after for a long time.
Yeah.
But considering what their immediate needs are right now, I would have saved that second round pick for a tight end.
Well, we'll see. I mean, they're doing well enough right now without the need for a tight end like a Rob Gronkowski. Their schedule's also been fairly easy to this point.
Right.
I mean, it gets a little harder down the road, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Again, Sanu's a veteran guy, and I think that he's good leadership for those young guys like Myers and Harry, who's coming back. So I think it's a step in the right direction for New England.
Well, then I'm happy for you.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Giants, though.
Oh, okay.
If I can, real quick. I think
sure.
It's a good segue for this. So from a lot of the articles that I've read, the Giants aren't really designated as buyers or sellers.
Right.
What do you think that they are? Like, do you think that do you think they should try to go after anybody? And if so, who? Or do they get rid of anybody? Or do they just stay pat? Like, what are your thoughts on this?
All right. So I've had to do a lot of thinking and a lot of self-reflecting and introspection, particularly after this week's game against the Arizona Cardinals, which really should have been a win, particularly with Saquon Barkley back and, Daniel Jones really kind of getting his footing. That's not to say he hasn't obviously had some pretty bad games in the last couple of weeks. But it should have been a win. Hats off to Chase Edmonds, who I shouted out in last week's show also, who absolutely killed it. I hope y'all listened to me and picked him up off the waiver wire. Was not very good for the Giants, but could be really good for your fantasy.
Especially now that David Johnson's hurt.
Even though, and it's funny, by the way, I just want to point out that the Cardinals are actually looking for a running back as well, and we should discuss that.
Okay.
Which I think it's weird considering Sunday, but
sure.
Anyways, back to the Giants. I wonder what would have happened or what could have happened, what this team could look like had 2 weeks ago we thought to shop some of our guys, because now we're not going to get the kind of capital that we could have gotten for a Sterling Shepard. We even some of the guys who are further on the depth chart, Wayne Gallman, someone we definitely could have shopped to a team that could really foster this young, newer talent and use it. And now we're just, because the Giants have just been so bad, I don't think that these guys are going to be able to get their worth. If after Daniel Jones's first win, which I know is a risky time to start manipulating a team, some of these guys were a little bit more clearly on the market, we probably could have done some damage, but I just don't know now.
I think it's an accurate assessment to designate the Giants as a team that needs to stay pat. I think they still need to establish themselves around Daniel Jones in order for them to make any kind of assessment. I don't think 4 games is a big enough window to assess really what the team is or what it needs. Mm-hmm. So I think going toward at the end of the season, in the off season, then I think you can start making moves as far as what you might want to do. But just based on the fact that Jones has only had 4 weeks and he's 2-2, right?
Right.
Yeah. You don't need to have a fire sale or go out and try to go all in when you're probably not going to get there just based on what the record has shown so far. And also, you've got a young quarterback, and you don't want to be giving away pieces that he could potentially use in the future.
Right, and that's another thing. I'm actually honestly more than just the team, and I think this will be the first time I've said this since Shermer started coaching with the Giants. But what we saw on Sunday was just kind of pretty deplorable play calling. Going for it on 4th down when there was opportunity to make a field goal, and Rosas is a great kicker. I was really disappointed in what I saw from just the coaching in general. And until that gets sorted out, we're not really going to know who Jones's guys are. Because obviously he knows he's got like a rapport with Saquon Barkley already, but he's only played now, I think, 2 games with Golden Tate, who is coming back after being suspended, and has the potential to really help the Giants blow up a new acquisition in this offseason. And we don't really know what that looks like yet. We don't really know what his relationship with Sterling Shepard looks like yet, because Shepard is now hurt. It is too early to tell, and I think you're right as a result. I think if they just stay pat and just...
Stay pat, build around him, get some people in the draft, have him establish that kind of rapport with these new kids.
Yeah, get a feel for who he likes and who he doesn't, and then you can start shopping the guys where it just isn't clicking.
Yeah, it appears that the Jones experiment is working, so you need to capitalize off of that and build around him.
Is it?
I think so. Sure, it's more successful. I mean, would you rather be what, 2-5 or 0-7 with Eli Manning probably?
Okay.
Yeah. So like you want to build for the future, and if the Jones experiment is working a little bit, which it is, you have to build around that. You have to capitalize off of it. But I think that next season, this offseason and next season is the time to do it, not right now.
Right. Okay. I'm so there are a few other teams that are kind of shopping around. That There are some rumors going around. And then just general observations. And one of my observations that I've been looking at is the Buffalo Bills.
Okay. No, same.
The Buffalo Bills could really use a wideout. They have right now, I think, the 7th best rushing attack, and 21st or worse they're ranked in passing yards per game.
They've got a good offensive group, though.
They do.
Because Gore's been good, Singletary's shown flashes, and they've got John Brown and they've got Cole Beasley, both of whom are flying under the radar. At least from a fantasy football standpoint.
Beasley was okay this week.
John Brown got me 17 points this week, so...
Brown, I have Brown on another one of my teams, and he's been pretty good. Frank Gore is having a career year, finally. Like, this is...
Good for him.
I'm so happy for Frank Gore. Oh, my God.
I agree with your point about the wide receiver, though. I think the wide receiver, though, needs to be a playmaker. They need a best wide receiver on their team. Because John Brown, even though he's the best wide receiver on your team, is not your number 1 wide receiver. Your best wide receiver is a number 2 wide receiver.
Right.
Who do you think that they should go and get? Any idea?
All right, so I have some thoughts, and the player that I have in mind is Emmanuel Sanders.
I was going to say exactly the same.
Okay, so Denver Broncos, Emmanuel Sanders, pretty healthy wideout. Not a young guy. He's 32 years old. Definitely not, I don't think, a permanent solution, but pretty talented. Now, here's the thing. It really kind of depends on what the Bills are willing to give up on whether or not this is going to be worth it, because, again, I don't think it's a very long-term solution. Not to mention, Denver actually looks pretty good, and I don't know if they really want to mess with what they have going on right now.
I think Denver's in the midst of a fire sale. Complete fire sale.
Really?
Blow it all up, start it over again. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the team's fighting with Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
Philip Lindsay and him got into a scrap. Sanders is in the last year of a contract. Chris Harris, the cornerback, is in the last year of his contract. I think it's time to blow it up. And I think that the Bills are going to go all in, which it looks like they are. You need someone like Sanders to be your playmaker on offense. And
having that just, I mean, obviously we talk about locker room morale a lot on the show as if we have any fucking idea what we're talking about. But having a veteran guy like Sanders who isn't super problematic, I think would be really good for that team.
I think so too.
Particularly if they are going to really try to rebuild with a bunch of young guys.
Yeah.
So that was my thought on that.
God, there's a lot of wide receivers that are around. There's a lot of teams that need wide receivers. One of my buyers at the deadline is Seattle.
Oh, okay.
So I think that Seattle could use another wide receiver to throw to, because right now Russell Wilson's one Tyler Lockett injury away from throwing to himself. Hear me out. I've got 2 options for you.
Okay.
Robbie Anderson from the Jets.
Ooh.
Or AJ Green from Cincinnati.
Oh.
Knowing Pete Carroll, he likes to go balls to the wall. Okay? And we'll just go out and do the meme-worthy thing. And the newsworthy, meme-worthy thing. And I think that both Robbie Anderson and AJ Green could fit in that system very well. I think Carroll would find a way to use them.
Wow. It's so funny, Andrew. I really thought that we would have a lot of differing opinions on this. I like the I like both of these ideas. I love the Robbie Anderson idea.
Me too.
Something
I'm
about
really into
that. It just makes sense. I feel like he would wear that Seahawks uniform well, in the sense of, he's a guy, he's been around long enough that he just wants to start winning.
Right.
And the Seahawks look like they could really start winning.
Speaking of names that would fit well with a Seahawks jersey, let me throw this at you. They also could use some secondary help. And I'm going to give you 3 names, and you tell me which one you want on your team if you're Pete Carroll. Chris Harris Jr. from the Denver Broncos, who we just talked about. Patrick Peterson from the Arizona Cardinals. They're both in the final year of their contract, both Peterson and Harris. Mm-hmm. Josh Norman from the Washington Redskins. Of those 3, who do you think wears the Seahawks uniform the best? All 3 of them are shut-down corners. I use that, all 3 of them are shut-down corners. Which one do you think is the most likely to end up in Seattle?
I can't believe I'm saying this. Josh Norman?
I think so too. Yeah, I really do.
I don't. Here's the thing, and I don't like. It's kind of cringy, like, to think about, just because it goes back to this conversation that we were having about fantasy football last week, where it's like, that a team sucks, so like automatically you're not going to consider picking up their players on like waiver wire or anything. But
just because you have one good player on a shitty team doesn't mean that they can be a good player on a really good team and make that team even better.
I know. That's a weird one for me to wrap my head around. But yeah. If I had to choose, I would go Josh Norman. Though I don't know if the Seahawks need to make a whole lot of defensive moves right now.
I think that they're facing pressure from within the division. You have the Rams, who are still trying to stay afloat, and the 49ers, who are undefeated. And if you're going to try to claw your way out of that division, you need as much help as you can get. And I think the Seahawks need to be buyers at this trade deadline.
All right. We'll see.
That's what
I'm into the idea of them getting a wideout like Anderson. They could even, feasibly. One of the things that I really like about the Seahawks right now is that they're working towards having a very young team,
right. And which is what they were when the Legion of Boom was a thing.
Right, and Carroll likes young guys. He works really well with young guys, and is a great mentor and obviously just a generally very friendly man. I think in that case, Sanders could probably fit well in their scheme as well, but I love the idea of Anderson.
Yeah.
That'll be an interesting thing to watch out for. So, keep your eyes peeled, everybody. And next week we'll talk about some things that have happened when they have happened, but we feel like Tuesday's going to be a really big day. It's going to be one of those days like the infamous April day when Antonio Brown went everywhere. And
that's right.
Yeah, it's going to be a big day.
Yeah.
I want to talk about one more thing that's already happened.
Okay.
That I'm just confused about, and it's kind of pulling up some past conversations, but the Jaguars picked up Joshua Dobbs, and I'm wondering kind of what the fuck they're thinking. Do they really need another quarterback?
Probably insurance for Minshew or something like that. Maybe it's tough because Foles is out for the year. So Foles? Oh no, Foles might be coming back.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
All right, so then maybe. Ooh.
See,
would it be far-fetched of the Jaguars to trade Gardner Minshew? See what they can get out of him?
Oh well, they're not. No.
You don't think so?
No.
Okay.
No, that's not this year. Not before this trade deadline.
Oh. Right.
I don't see that happening.
So then it might just be insurance for that purpose.
And I get that. It brings up this conversation once again of, now Minshew, granted, has not had a very good couple of weeks. Kind of a very quick fall from this grace that everyone, all the hype that he has gotten. But
I still think he's a very real candidate for Rookie of the Year. I do.
And he could be if the Jaguars continue to play him, but are they going to when Foles gets back? Because Foles has a pretty big contract to be sitting on a bench.
Yeah, well, injuries are a thing. And if they're afraid of him re-injuring, was his collarbone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, then why
would this injury was the second time.
Why would they try to risk that? I would be conservative with him in rehab and wait until he's 100% to bring him back into the fold here.
Yeah, I get it. I just kind of thought it was a weird signing, kind of random for Josh Dobbs. Not my favorite move, and just it's just a little disorienting. It just kind of throws another fold in where there's already quite a bit of confusion. Now, if they're planning to keep Josh Dobbs as their franchise backup, I can't believe I just said those words. But I mean, for all intents and purposes, we've seen that before. We've seen Josh McCown make a career out of being, a franchise backup for several different teams. And if that's what his career trajectory is, then fine. But I don't know if that's what it should be. I think it's too early to tell with that kid. So
yeah.
Anyways, that's all I've got.
Yeah, no, same. I think we should put this to bed, and we'll see what happens on the 29th, and hope that all these things that we predicted come to fruition. So.
Yeah, it's very exciting. So when we come back, we're going to talk just a little bit about fantasy, and then we're going to change sports for a sec.
Yeah, sounds good. Let's do that when we come back.
Cool. Stay tuned, guys.
Bye.